I don't often get a chance to share my testimony at a venue like this, so this is a joy for me, even if it's only going to be 5 minutes. The Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 11 what I would call the Gentile Great Commission. How many of you would call yourselves Gentiles? Raise your hand. If you're not sure, you are, by the way. Because if you had Jewish blood, you'd know, believe me. Anyway, this Gentile commission says salvation has come to the Gentiles to provoke Israel to jealousy. And that's kind of my story. As Mitch said, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I actually went to Midwood High School, and our new Messianic Center in Brooklyn is in the Midwood section of Brooklyn, so it's like coming home for me. Being on Coney Island Avenue brings back so many memories for me, and it's just a joy to see what the Lord is doing in bringing us to have such a presence in that part of Brooklyn. But for me, I was trying to live out the American dream. I went to a wonderful business school in downtown Manhattan, Pace University, where I received my bachelor's degree in accounting, my master's degree in financial management, and I was recruited on campus by one of the largest corporations in the world, the oil company, Texaco. And I had decided early on that I did not want to be a public accountant, but rather wanted to be in the corporate world and work my way up in the corporate world and one day be a corporate executive. The problem is that I went to work for a company who did most of their business with Saudi Arabia, and there were about 7 Jews in a company with 75,000 people. So my future with Texaco would be limited. But while I was at Texaco, I met a man who would become my boss, who happened to be from a small town outside of Amarillo, Texas, Canyon, Texas. And this man came from our office in Houston, Texas, to the corporate headquarters in New York City, and he was like a duck out of water. I mean, I'll never forget the first day that we met, and he stuck out his hand, gave me a big Texas handshake, and said, "Hi, how y'all doing? My name is BR." And I thought to myself, good grief. Where did they find this guy? So I had all these visions of what this Southerner would be like. I expected him to leave work at night and put on his Klan hood and go out to a Klan meeting. But the reality is he was nothing like that. He was really the first Christian that ever had the nerve to share his faith with me. And he did so because as I watched him operate in the context of this very tense corporate environment, he was unlike any human being I had ever met before. And what he ended up doing was provoking me to jealousy. And it was he that planted a seed in my heart that ultimately my wonderful wife, Julia, who, while she was raised in the Bronx, was actually born in a small town outside of Rome, Italy. I married an Italian Catholic girl who came to faith in Jesus, and she had the audacity to tell me that I needed to believe in Jesus too. We were married 10 years. Could you imagine that? After 10 years, she tells me now I need to believe in Jesus? But the Lord used all of these events in my life to lead me to faith, and ultimately came to faith after hearing the gospel preached by a Jewish man named Sam Nadler at a Messianic congregation up in Westchester named Light of Israel Congregation that later on I would have the privilege of leading following Sam. After a few years, I went off to seminary at Dallas Theological Seminary and eventually went into the ministry full-time as a pastor before coming to Chosen People Ministries.